the next 2 hours with our three sports-loving ladies, Mia O'Brien, Lauren Brooks, and Taylor Dahl.
This is Helmets and Heels
on 1010XL.
Show me what you got, pretty lady.
Well, two sports-loving ladies for the next few days as Mia O'Brien takes a well-deserved vacation, and Taylor Dahl as we were out at Jaguars mandatory minicamp day 2 today as the fans were out there for their first and only day. I literally thought to myself, Mia's on vacation, and she's going to come back to the storyline of Brian Thomas Jr.'s injury and what this means for the franchise long term. And thank goodness all that was avoided, because there's nothing worse than being on vacation and missing something that could potentially change the trajectory of the franchise. But again, Brian Thomas Jr. is perfectly fine. He was cleared to return. That is excellent news, and we can talk way more about the other stuff that happened on the field.
Yeah, there was definitely a brief, and that's what you expect. Brian Thomas Jr., it was such a massive part of what anything you could do last year, and you're expecting that to even take a further step. And so I do think that's something you never want to see a player get injured at camp, but when you're seeing your probably best player on the field, and he looked like he was in pain for a minute. It looked a little scary. So, but yes, he came back out. We saw him standing on the sideline, and Liam Coen said that he's okay, and he wouldn't have came back out if he's not okay. That's one thing that I think you do have to focus at this time of year. They wouldn't force him to go back out there if he was not all right.
And he kept his helmet on, so that told me, like, it's possible maybe he'll go back in.
It looked like he wanted to. There were moments he was kind of looking like, I can do this, and they were maybe like, let's just relax for a second.
Take a chill pill. But it certainly in the moment, it was a little terrifying for not just the fans who, of course, are out there to see the likes of a Trevor Lawrence and Brian Thomas Jr. and Travis Hunter and De'Ami Brown, their first time to see all of them outside of, for some of them, the rookie minicamp, the guys that were out there. But it was that moment of like, oh no, like the pads aren't on yet.
Yeah.
This team has been so healthy, thank goodness, through all of these workouts. Not right now, when the only day that the fans can come out. Yeah. But again, that's a storyline, thankfully, we don't even have to really get into, other than, yes, it was reported that he went down, and then, like we said, he walked off with trainers, returned to the sideline, and he should be perfectly fine. We will be very thankful for that.
Definitely. And I was talking to Coach Campo out there, and Coach Campo said that's one of the hardest parts for him when he was coaching. One of the hardest parts were regulating those when you don't have your pads on, because obviously, like, it's body contact to body contact, and some of these guys are still so competitive that you're running full speed, and they're not hitting, obviously, but you slip sometimes, or someone accidentally falls and things like that. And so I had a whole conversation with Coach about it, and he was like, that was one of the hardest parts for me to regulate, because you still want to see things coming out of these practices, but you also don't want anybody leaving hurt, especially when they don't have their pads on.
For sure. All right, so the biggest storylines to me today, and I'm interested to get your thoughts since it was your first time being able to be out there. The defense continues to bring the juice, continues to play better than the offense. And yes, we've said it a million times. We'll continue to say it. The defense should be ahead of the offense at this point in time with the way that the installs have gone, and you can react, right? The offense is still having to think through some things. We did see Trevor Lawrence throw at least one interception today, and some other quarterbacks that are on the field out there too throw interceptions. But to me, the bigger takeaway that Coach Camp, what he's brought energy-wise to the defense is fantastic. And then the other takeaway to me is the fact that you've got, I think, position groups starting to, not just the competition, but starting to kind of be solidified as far as what the coaches think. Like, I have been surprised at seeing certain guys out there with the ones that I didn't expect to be out there, but they've kind of been fairly consistent. And like I said the other day, I've only seen one offensive lineman be rotated out. And so it does feel like and I'm not saying they're not going to have a great competition when we get to training camp, but at least through OTAs and now through a couple of days of minicamp, it feels like they have an idea of guys that they want to be starting.
Yeah, and I think that is what, at this point in time especially, is what you're really looking at, is who you're seeing out there the most. And there were definitely players that stood out that, to your point too, I was kind of shocked at seeing more than I was expecting to see them on the field. And there's a couple things that there's probably about 3 or 4 things that I really took away from it. And one of them may be in a similar aspect of just seeing certain guys out there a lot. But and everybody knows I've been very, very critical of the secondary in general, but especially the safeties. I've been very vocal that I still have I'm very concerned about the safety room. I saw a lot of good plays from the safeties today, and that's Ransaw made a play, Savage made a play, Antonio Johnson made a play.
Yeah, Savage picked off Trevor at one point.
And so that is, and it's early, but to me, that is something that is refreshing to me, because I have had so many concerns. So seeing those guys that I think from last year, it was one of the weakest parts, one of the weakest position groups. And that's saying something because there was a lot of weak position groups this last year. But to me, seeing that impact this early into camp already, and like you said, you are kind of expecting defense to be a little bit of ahead. But there's some new guys on this. Obviously, Eric Murray being added into the group, and Caleb Ransaw being a rookie. So seeing him come out and make plays right away is really fun to watch that. And then the secondary in general, we saw Jordan Lewis. That's one of the plays we saw him on Travis Hunter. And so I think that the secondary in general is something that I'm so fascinated to see how this all shakes out in general and how this rotation is going to look. And we're going to continue to have that conversation. But to me, how cohesive they looked already today was very refreshing for me.
Yeah, Jordan Lewis is a stud. I can say that just from watching practices without pads. But so far, every time he's around the ball, he makes a play. We know that the coaching staff on the opposite side of the ball love De'Ami Brown. I think as far as, the free agents brought in, I think Jordan Lewis would be that guy for the defense. And yeah, like you said, he made a great play against Travis Hunter. I think that's Travis Hunter's accustomed to catching that ball there in the end zone, and he didn't. And Jordan Lewis and the rest of the defense started immediately celebrating. Yeah. And the defense, obviously, they won on the scoreboard, but also, to me, they had a little chippiness about them, which you don't hate it, right?
Yeah,
it's
no,
football,
I love it.
right? And so I'm sure coaches don't want any fights by any means, but I don't think that they mind seeing that bit of extra aggressiveness from a guy like Mason Smith, who certainly is a guy that a lot is expected out of along that defensive line. But yeah, I've been very impressed with everything that Jordan Lewis, number 2, has brought to the defense so far.
Yeah, me too. And I think that was a move that I think a lot of people were surprised at, more in the light of what happens to Jarian.
Right.
And if you listen to the show, I love Jarian Jones. And Jarian today, when the Mason Smith, that kind of little scuffle happened, Jarian was just like on his back patting it. Let's go, man. And I love those moments because obviously your defense at that point, you're playing against each other. So Jags win no matter what, but you want your side of the ball to have what they've been doing, honestly, what the defense has been doing. So I do think that when you talk about a guy, that was kind of the head scratcher just because of what you felt you already had. You're like, okay, we have a ton of guys that can play nickel in the slot, slot corner or whatever, if the safety needs to go there. And then, so why are we adding somebody else? But that's why, because he's such a playmaker. And if you watched him at all last year, he was just so impactful when it came to those type of moments. And when you're watching your offense, and there's just some times where you just have to flat out say, that was a good play by the defensive back, and there's nothing else. It's not that Travis Hunter didn't do what he was supposed to do. He got up, he got his hands on the ball. Jordan Lewis just played the ball better.
Yeah, he certainly did. There was almost a big man touchdown today. There was a big man interception. However, Keevy Rose dropped it, fumbled it right after he caught it, and Jeff Loggeman made the joke to the fans about how us defensive linemen aren't always great with the ball in our hands.
Yeah, we're not used to having to hold the ball.
Exactly, on the defensive side, but it was fun to see. And I think for me, Taylor, when I go out to practice, I like to watch how players interact with one another. And I love to watch Trevor Lawrence after plays don't go the way that he intended them to go, whether it's on him or whether it's on the receiver, the tight end or the running back. I love to watch him take them to the side and then go through that play multiple times, because that shows to me, I think he's always been a leader, but it shows that he is really trying to nail down this playbook. And it's another new offense for him. But I think it's so important to have your quarterback be willing to be that guy and to talk to these guys, because, I mean, this is Brenton Strange's second year. Yeah. And Tank Bigsby is still new, and certainly De'Ami just got added, but you have Brian Thomas Jr. just going into second year. Travis Hunter's a rookie. There's still a lot of youth on that offense, and Trevor needs to be the one to do that. And I like that it's not, I don't see him have to go to a coach and then the coach then talk to the player. He goes directly to the player. And that's what that was one of the biggest conversations we had early in the offseason, was getting rid of Christian Kirk and an Evan Ingram. You're taking away kind of the comfortability of what Trevor's had. Yeah. That's been his people. That's been his people the last couple years. And to the point of, yes, on the field, but also anytime you were at practice, you saw that relationship they had. It kind of bled into everything. And what you were just saying, there was a pass to Brenton Strange. Brenton Strange made a great catch. He just happened to be out of bounds. But you could tell even in that moment immediately,
Trevor Lawrence took him over to the side, and you could see the conversation they're having. I don't know exactly what went wrong on that play, obviously, but there was something that Trevor felt like he needed to discuss. And I'm very excited about Brenton Strange this year too. Watching him today, I feel like even with that, his hands are incredible. The way he can get up is incredible. The way he kind of can track the ball, I really like seeing some of those things. And in practice, you're not having the defenders on you like maybe you are in a game, but you saw it late last year, especially with Brenton Strange, what he's able to do in those situations. So I'm very, very excited about him on this Liam Coen offense.
I said it's year 2, but it's year 3. It's just he was so not involved
Part
really.
of it, yeah.
His rookie season, and so it doesn't feel like it because, of course, like you mentioned, Evan Ingram was here. But I think the offense will pick it up and we'll get there by the time training camp begins. But I have my doubts.
Yeah.
It's for the here and now because, again, when we've watched and they had an overtime period today after we thought practice would have ended, they actually had, a simulated overtime for the team. And the defense definitely stonewalled the offense. And so that's great, again, for the defense and great for Coach Campanile. But Liam Coen, of course, after practice is like, I'm frustrated. I'm mad. It's great for the defense, but I want the offense to be there. And I'm sure coming from Tampa with Baker Mayfield, with Chris Godwin, with Mike Evans and all those guys, I bet that the offense was a little bit farther ahead of where this offense is now.
Well, definitely, because they had already had a good season before, the year before Liam Coen was there. He took it to that next level, but the year before, Baker had his year where everyone was like, whoa, Baker's back. And there was
That's how Dave Canales got his head coaching job with the Panthers.
Exactly. And then Mike Evans and Chris Godwin are Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, and they've been doing it for a long time. So you do have these guys those two receivers have been with each other for a long time, and maybe not Baker, but they did have that year with Baker where they really kind of figured everything out. And to your point of the newness, there's a lot of newness here. And so I do think it will take some time. And I do, on the other side, I do want to get a couple of the notes of the offense, because there were a couple things that popped out to me. It's not as fun and pretty to talk about the offense right now, but I do think there's some things that are going to be focal points, especially as we head into training camp in a month or whatever it is, month and a half.
Well, Trevor Lawrence was throwing the football, so that's a great
did
sign
not have
for
a sling
the offense.
on.
Did not have a sling. Did have a sleeve again. He's been wearing that, but like Liam said yesterday, that's just to keep it warm. But hit me with your offensive notes.
Yeah, so there was a couple things. Number one, another concern when I was saying the concerns about the safety room, to me, the offensive line has obviously been another thing where I don't feel like I'm not convinced it's fixed, and I'm not going to be, honestly, and probably until September. But I do think that I'm worried. I'm more worried today than I was probably a few days ago seeing it in person. To me, too many penalties already. And again, you're not even getting these guys aren't even defensively on full send yet. So you're not even really getting that full contact that you're going to get once pads come on. I just saw, it just seems a little slow to me. Maybe it's taking time. Liam Coen spoke on that yesterday of, when the level of concern for the offensive line is just as high as it was back in January.
Well, and we know that Josh Hines-Allen and Trayvon Walker are beasts.
Yeah.
And so when they are able to have a little bit of advantage based off of not having pads on, of course they're going to win. The question will be, and that's why I'm not going to have any serious concerns until we get the pads on in training camp in July, because I don't know yet how to evaluate this period. And Emmanuel Ogbah looks great. Dwan Smoot also looks great.
Yeah.
Glad to have him back here. But they are definitely winning.
Yeah.
But I don't want, if Liam Cohen's going to say, well, I can't evaluate it until pads, then I certainly am going to say, I can't evaluate it until pads.
I just think it already sucked. So I think, to me, I'm evaluating what I saw. And you know the pieces, the guys that are on this line now, you can go back and watch the film and what they've done. And I just wasn't a big fan of the signings in general. So to me, I have to see it get better for me to believe it is better.
Yeah, that's one thing I love when the O-line and D-line battle in training camp. I love watching those. It will be interesting because they've got some really talented pass rushers on this team that they're going to have to block.
They're going to face a lot of those this year, so I'm glad they have that to go up against, because that is something that week by week now you're facing some of the best. If you go through their schedule, you can name multiple that they're going against that are some of the better in the league. Yeah,
the cliche is iron sharpens iron. Mm-hmm. Well, Tyson Campbell going up against Travis Hunter or Jarian Jones or Brian Thomas Jr. on the other side of the ball, those guys going up against one another, practice in, practice out, that's gonna make them better and elevate the competition. All right, so I will give you our Terminix Pest of the Day on the other side. We have Michael Jr. joining us at 12:30 to break down college football, and one Jack Kaiser, formerly of Notre Dame. And at 1:20, we will chat with Gary Smits of the Florida Times Union on the U.S. Open at Oakmont. You are listening to Helmets and Heels on 1010X on 92.5 FM.
Summer on the First Coast, the heat, the beach, and Jacksonville Sports Radio, 1010XL.
Mia here for Closets by Design. It's been a few months since they built my custom closet, and my whole family is obsessed. With Father's Day right around the corner, why not surprise Dad with his own custom garage workspace? Think tool storage, workbenches, flooring, and a space to call his own. Closets by Design creates custom solutions for every space, lifestyle, and budget. That includes you dads, too. Call today to schedule your free in-home consultation and receive 40% off plus an additional 15% off. ClosetsByDesign.com.
Ready to add some value to your day? The everyday deals at Sonny's have got you covered. Right now, you can get the pork big deal for $10, the pork and rib combo for $12. All you can eat ribs for $19.99, and our new loaded barbecue potato for $11. Available all day, every day. And that's why it's always Sonny's here. Sonny's Barbecue, local pitmasters since '68.
Lucas Tree Service is a certified arborist and a local family-owned business with over 45 years of experience. They specialize in tree removal, trimming, and stump grinding for both residential and commercial properties. Get prepared for storm season and receive top-notch customer service from Lucas Tree Service, 904-241-3533. Online at lucastreeservice.com.
David Garrard here. I've had the PRP treatment from Southeast Orthopedic Specialists, and my knees are really doing well. Platelet-rich plasma treatment may be the answer for whatever is hurting you.
Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
My son had a meniscus surgery a couple of years ago. Went smooth as silk. Dr. Kevin Murphy did it. Was playing tennis in 2 weeks. This is Patrick Malarkey, and I highly recommend
Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
Kingfish Pest Control Wednesday.
Helmets and heels.
Is your roof ready for hurricane season? When storms hit, you need more than just a roof. You need trust. Valor Roofing Company is veteran-owned and operated, serving all of Florida with integrity and quality craftsmanship. From minor repairs to full replacements, they'll treat your home like it's their own. Estimates are always free, and veterans receive a special discount on all roofing services. Visit ValorRoofingCo.com and protect your home with people who care. GAF Certified License CCC 1334864.
Prosser here. Get those boats ready. The Dailies Old School Kingfish Shootout, presented by Yellowfin, is almost here. It's Saturday, June 14th. Just go to oldschoolkingfish.com to find out more. The grand prize is a Yellowfin bay boat worth $125,000, and with limited boundaries, no bait buying, and no checkout, it is seriously old school. Here's how you do it. You go online, you sign up, and you become part of what was always a terrific tournament. It's the Old School Kingfish Shootout. oldschoolkingfish.com.
Give a man a fish, he'll eat for a day. Teach a man to fish. And he's listening to the Nimnicht Outdoor Show.
With tips and stories.
Presented by Duck Duck Rooter Plumbing, Septic and Air Conditioning.
Every Saturday morning, 7 to 10.
On 1010XL.
Are you struggling with hair loss? At IHRS, we understand because we've been there too. We're dedicated to finding the best solution tailored just for you.
My hair looks great. It was thinning, and IHRS restored my hair.
It's now fuller, it's thicker, voluminous. It's made me feel great.
With the latest technology and FDA-approved laser therapy, PRP, and non-surgical hair addition, we offer guaranteed solutions for men and women.
With over 35 years of experience, IHRS found a hair restoration for us, and we can find one for you.
For me.
For me.
And me too.
Visit hairforme.com or call 904-777-IHRS. Get a free microscopic analysis and get to the root of your problem. This $395 analysis is yours for free. Call 904-777-4477 now.
Collisions happen on every play in football. Collisions also happen every day on the road. If you need auto body repair, from a $30 job to a $30,000 job, trust San Jose Collision in Mandarin.
Plumbing problems? AC not blowing? Septic tank doing whatever septic tanks do? Don't call 3 different companies and play contractor roulette. Just call Duck Rooter. Waddle over to duckduckrooter.com. When you're stuck, call the duck.
Beer, water, beer. That's a pretty good game plan when it comes to battling the summer heat. When you hit the beach, fishing hole, or golf course, make sure you hydrate. Anheuser-Busch is always up for a good time. Just remember to drink responsibly.
Send your favorite person a sweet summer surprise today from Coen Flowers, creating memories for over 70 years. This is JJ, and it's just so easy. Order online at CoenFlowers.com, Jacksonville and Ponte Vedra.
Want a simple way to boost your company's image without a big renovation? A fresh paint job in your brand's colors can increase recognition up to 80%. At Performance Painting, we help companies stand out with clean, on-brand finishes that impress clients and energize employees. From color consultations to low-odor coatings that won't disrupt operations, we've got you covered. Visit performance-painting.com to schedule a friendly estimate. Performance Painting. Prepare, protect, preserve.
Performance Painting.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
Anytime I talk to people who say they don't like Chris Stapleton, I'm blown away.
Yeah.
And I never try to
Insane.
force anyone to like country music or music in any bands that I love in general. But I don't know how you listen to Stapleton and don't just fall in love with his voice.
Yeah, his voice is incredible. And he's one of the ones that I do feel like even my friends that don't listen to country, they're always like, I'll listen to everything but country, as you hear that a
Sure,
lot.
absolutely.
You mentioned someone like Chris Stapleton and they're like, oh, well, yeah.
But he's not like twangy country kind of thing. But love me some Chris Stapleton. Lauren Brooks here, Taylor Dahl, RJ Saunders with you, Mia O'Brien on vacation until Monday. I want to get one comment from Jaguars head coach Liam Coen about the offensive line, since we were just having that conversation, Taylor.
Mm-hmm.
But first, today's Terminix Pest of the Day. Make sure if you have any pest issues, mosquito issues, cockroach issues, for sure, termites, you contact our friends at Terminix. Visit them online at Terminix.com, Terminix. And there's a reason that they take care of Everbank Stadium, ViStar Ballpark, ViStar Veterans Memorial Arena, as well as all of your favorite event venues around town, because they do such a great job. Okay. Saw Logan Bowles, our good friend, the photographer, out at practice, and he was wearing...
Oh, he's ready for this.
Yeah, he was wearing some soccer gear, and he looked at me and he's like, it was even worse last night, because we talked about the embarrassment from the other night when the United States men's national team lost 2-1. And then last night they lost to Switzerland 4-0. So I'm going to give you some stats. The U.S. men's national team has now lost 4 games in a row. Last night's loss, they had 7 shots total. Not a single one was on target. Not a single shot was on target of the goal. 1980, you and I certainly were not born then. That was the last time that the U.S. men's national team conceded 4 goals in the opening 40 minutes. And it is just 366 days until the 2026 World Cup kicks off.
Oh, yeah. That might be a problem.
Yeah. And I understand some people are going to say, well, the best players aren't playing. I totally understand that. They're not. And I know Landon Donovan had some harsh comments for them, even though at one point in time he took a sabbatical. So then he wasn't even on the 2014 World Cup, but that's neither here nor there. My issue is that they've had multiple coaches now over the last few years, and they are not any better, and they're not getting better, and it's an embarrassment. By the way, the CONCACAF Gold Cup begins on Saturday. The U.S. plays Trinidad and Tobago Sunday at 6 p.m. out in California, San Jose. Most U.S. men's national team soccer fans will remember November 2023, the U.S. was playing Trinidad and Tobago and lost 2-1. And it's that where we thought that we would be past stuff like that. And I certainly cannot guarantee you that on Sunday, the U.S. is going to beat Trinidad and Tobago. We'll certainly find out. But yeah, they have some serious issues they need to figure out. And yes, once the better players rejoin this team, things should hopefully get better. But it's it's just a sad state of affairs.
People, did they like, how do you say his name? Pochettino? Is that?
Yeah, Pochettino. Yeah, people were excited about
And I mean, how
Mauricio.
much work did he have to do? Because it feels like a lot.
Yeah, they don't have a lot of the players that they had back in 2022, but at some point in time, like it just feels like the guys that once played are so frustrated because they should be 10 years better than they once were, and they've gone in the complete and opposite
way,
total
yeah.
direction. Now, let's hope though that the Jaguars offensive line does not go the way of the U.S. men's national team this year and sucks. So here's Liam Coen after practice on last year's right tackle Anton Harrison.
Obviously, the footwork, the athleticism, the ability to pass pro on an edge. And when Anton wants to go, he can go. And just consistently doing it on a day in, day out basis. Smart. He understands the why of what we're trying to get accomplished. But as much as he can continue to rise going into year 3 and as a first round pick to take a huge step this year and be a lockdown tackle for us.
So I think that was a veiled message, a veiled shot. When he wants to go,
he can.
He goes.
But he might not be all the time.
Yeah. So that to me is a clear message to Anton that they expect more out of him.
Yeah.
And certainly he has to battle for that right tackle spot if he's going to try and win that for 2025. All right. On the other side, let's get it to college football and chat with Mike Golick Jr., the co-host of Golick and Golick that just started this week on FanDuel Sports Network. You are listening to Helmets and Heels on 1010XL 92.5 FM.
He's the life of the party.
Let's all get down, get funky.
Joe C.
I do voices.
Join the radio party.
Play that funky music, white boy.
2 to 4.
Let's play this backwards and see if it gets any better.
On 1010XL.
Chicken Salad Chick is now open in Ortega Park on Roosevelt Boulevard. Fresh, scratch-made chicken salad in 12 mouth-watering flavors. Get to Ortega Park and enjoy Chicken Salad Chick, the best chicken salad in Jacksonville.
Is your backyard ready for the big leagues? Pick it here for Surfside Pools. Serving Northeast Florida since 1977, they have the home field advantage. Family owned and operated, offering weekly pool service, equipment repairs, commercial maintenance, remodels, and new pool construction. Let Surfside Pools make your backyard dreams a reality. Are you ready to float happy? Visit SurfsidePools.net or call 904-246-2666. Surfside Pools and Spas, your hometown MVP.
License number CPC 044080.
Why does Northeast Florida buy from Arlington Toyota? Because Arlington is the place to go for big selection. I'm talking over 800 vehicles, one location, and everyday low prices. Over 350 SUVs, over 175 trucks, over 275 cars. And if that's not enough, there's even more inventory on the way. Plus, 60-day exchange. Buy from Arlington, take it home, drive it around for 60 days, folks. And if you decide it's not right for you, come on back to Arlington and exchange it for another one. You even get Arlington's lifetime warranty with your new Toyota purchase. Why buy from Arlington? Because right now you could get financing as low as 0% on select new Toyota models. 0% and no payments until January 2026. That's like 7 months from now. Crazy. Now you know why Northeast Florida buys from Arlington Toyota. Shop in person on Atlantic Boulevard, just a quarter mile east of 295, or online at arlingtontoyota.com.
It's graduation season, a time to celebrate the end of an era and the beginning of a whole new story. At Diamonds Direct, we believe moments like these deserve to be remembered beautifully. Honor your graduate with a timeless gift, a birthstone ring, a classic pendant, diamond studs, or an heirloom piece they'll treasure forever. No pressure, all sparkle, and expert guidance every step of the way. Diamonds Direct, your love, our passion.
It's Helmets and Heels, Kingfish Pest Control Wednesday.
Home is where your story begins. And at Donovan Air Electric and Plumbing, we're here to make it the healthiest, most comfortable place it could be. Whether it's fresh, clean air, dependable plumbing, or reliable power, we take care of it all. From routine maintenance to state-of-the-art solutions, Donovan keeps your home running smoothly. Because at Donovan, we believe your home isn't just where you live, it's where your health meets comfort. Call Donovan Air Electric and Plumbing at 904-270-COOL or visit us online. Let's make your home healthier, safer, and better together.
Hey everybody, it's Mike Dempsey, and I only like to recommend the best, which is why I'm proud to say that I chose Pella Windows and Doors for my own home. And now's a great time to upgrade your home with 0% financing for 60 months. That's 5 years of interest-free payments on the best windows and doors in the business. Don't wait. Schedule a free consultation at PellaJacks.com or visit their showroom on Phillips Highway just north of Bay Meadows. For quality you can trust and savings you can't miss, that's Pella Windows and Doors.
The SEC and the ACC will face off in Jacksonville at the 81st TaxSlayer Gator Bowl game December 27th at 7:30 p.m. Join us for Saturday Night Football in prime time at the bank. Preferred locations and pricing available now at TaxSlayerGatorBowl.com.
This date in sports history is brought to you by Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
On June 11th, 1990, 43-year-old Nolan Ryan threw his 6th no-hitter against the Oakland Athletics, becoming the oldest player to throw a no-hitter.
If you are an experienced electrician looking for your next big opportunity, look no further than the Miller Electric Company, a trusted name in the industry for over 96 years. At Miller Electric, we tackle the biggest projects in the city, offering you the chance to showcase your skills on a grand scale. We believe in rewarding hard work with the best pay, top-notch benefits, and an unbeatable culture where people actually care about each other. Take your career to new heights with Miller Electric Company. Apply today at millercareers.com. Miller Electric, an equal opportunity employer.
Have you been diagnosed with moderate to severe opioid use disorder? You may qualify for a new clinical research study. Dr. Ferdinand Formoso is now enrolling participants to evaluate the effectiveness of a non-opioid medication treatment option for OUD. Qualified participants will receive study-related care at no cost and may be eligible for reimbursement of travel and accommodations. To qualify, applicants must be 18 to 65 years old, have been diagnosed with moderate to severe opioid use disorder, and have not been on medication to treat opioid use in the last 3 months. The study lasts up to 22 weeks, with weekly visits during treatment. If you're ready to explore a new path forward, visit OUDstudy.com for more details and qualifications. Take the first steps and visit OUDstudy.com. That's OUDstudy.com. OUDstudy.com.
Are you ready to play this summer? At the First Coast YMCA, we're committed to being your home for health and wellness and a place for friendly competition with team sports for adults and for kids. Basketball, volleyball, pickleball, flag football, soccer. The Y has something for everyone at any age. Discover all the benefits of YMCA membership and find your fun this summer at the Y. Registration for team sports and summer camps is open now. Visit fcymca.org.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Now, another great guest on the Checkmate Coatings phone line. Hello. Your floor's missing piece.
All right, let's talk a little bit of college football. We're joined now by Mike Golick Jr. Mike, thanks so much for hopping on with us. I know you have some exciting stuff happening this week. You are the host of Golick and Golick, and you guys have a new home, FanDuel Sports Network. So congrats on that, and tell us a little bit about what's going on.
Yeah, no, thank you guys. Appreciate you having me and showing some love to the show. But yeah, we're on FanDuel Sports Network now, so you can get that wherever it's available if you are a part of a region that carries that. The FanDuel Sports Network app. Prime Video, plenty of great places and platforms you can see it on. We're 3 to 5 Eastern now. So my father, who has spent 2+ decades waking up at the crack of dawn to do sports radio and sports television, now finally gets the gift of a full night's sleep. It's going to be amazing.
Yeah, I love it. Both Lauren and I have worked on the morning show here, so we've both been at 6 a.m. shows, and she's been on afternoon shows. We now have the noon show, so both of us have been all over, and we know how much the sleep means when you need it, especially during football season. Mike, I obviously want to get into college football with you, but I do want to start because the Jaguars selected one of the Notre Dame players, and that's Jack Kaiser. I was super pumped about Jack Kaiser. I kind of had to maybe calm some people down here. Some people didn't quite love the pick, but pretty soon into rookie minicamp, Liam Coen, obviously head coach of the Jaguars, was very quickly talking about Jack Kaiser and the physicalness and his build and things like that. And then obviously the leadership side coming out of Notre Dame and the time he spent there. But chat a little bit about Jack Kaiser and his impact that he had not just on the field, but off the field up there at Notre Dame.
Yeah, Jack was a really impressive case study, and kind of what Marcus Freeman has prided this program on is that long-term development. Remember, before Marcus was the head coach, he was the defensive coordinator, working with Jack on that side of the ball, and he was a guy that worked his way up into bigger and bigger roles every year in a defense that, run by Marcus Freeman, run by Al Golden the last 3 years, has a lot of NFL to it. Case in point, Al Golden, now the defensive coordinator for the Cincinnati Bengals. And so, one, you have that time for physical development for a guy that maybe walking off the bus isn't a world beater in that category, but a guy who has seen and played a lot of football, and a guy who from the neck up became such an important communicator. He went from one part in the linebacker room 2 years ago that was incredibly deep for Notre Dame, had a lot of veterans to rely on, to now the elder statesman who was in charge of a bunch of talented but incredibly young players in the Notre Dame linebacker room this past season that also weathered the storm with a lot of injury. And so his voice in that room, his ability to not only know his responsibility, but to be able to then get everyone else lined up and in the right place as well, was invaluable to a team that made a national championship run, despite the fact that by the end of the season, Jack Kaiser was looking around wondering who some of his new teammates on the field were. And so I think he's a player that reeks of maturity, who has maxed out his physical ability, and because he's got so much football under his belt, I think it's going to come in with a really high floor right off the bat.
And I think that's exciting for Jaguars fans to hear, Mike. You also this week, your first week of Golic and Golic on FanDuel Sports Network, had Marcus Freeman on. So he's a guy that I feel like one of the best defensive minds that we have in college football. What was it like chatting with him?
Yeah, it was really interesting chatting with Coach Freeman on a couple of levels, but I thought it's been interesting to watch the way that he has handled all the changes in modern college football. And we know this last weekend we had the House settlement finally approved. Colleges and universities will be able to pay players directly as opposed to the model that we've seen involving collectives. And we asked him about how they'd been preparing for that. And really, he said they've been operating under that assumption for a while. The way they've structured their football department now with new general manager with that acting title in Mike Martin, who is an NFL front office personnel member over at the Detroit Lions. They are running this like a professional operation. It's no surprise that Marcus Freeman, during the last coaching cycle in the NFL, started to get interest for that reason, because he's taken that defensive prowess as a coach and he's been able to turn it into that 300-level CEO-type management style as the head coach of that team and do a really good job delegating. So it's a long-winded way of saying Notre Dame fans and alum like me are going to have to keep worrying about NFL teams sniffing around our head coach because he's that good and really has come into his own in year 3 going into year 4 now.
Yeah, Marcus Freeman, I love him, and I think he's just an incredible human being in general. But I do love, too, that he wants to keep some of that tradition, as in the USC. He spoke a lot on keeping that USC-Notre Dame rivalry going, which maybe USC does not want to do. But let's look at some of the other bigger storylines maybe around college football. And I want to talk one close to home here, which is DJ Lagway. There were some concerns early on in camp with his shoulder. Everyone kind of went up into a panic. That was hushed pretty quickly. He started throwing and everything kind of calm down. But what are your expectations of Lagway and how much that Florida team needs him to succeed for them to have the season that maybe some people expect, that step up from last year?
Yeah, massive. I think you saw just the hints. I remember going back and watching a couple of Florida games late in the season when DJ was under center, and he's just one of those players that immediately you see the difference in athletic ability and arm strength and his ability and strength in the pocket to shrug guys off. And you understand he's the kind of player that, provided you build around him the correct way, can be someone that drags a program. He is that level of, Cam Newton-esque talent at the position. Now, listen, Florida's seen that kind of talent. Anthony Richardson a couple of years ago, I called the game against Utah where we saw the 180 pass that had everyone handing him the Heisman Trophy after week 1. And we know it didn't necessarily go that route, but I think now in this case for DJ, you've got a guy that's going to have a little more time under task. He's been on campus a bit longer, and he's going to have a great opportunity ahead of him here. I think he's a guy that, has number 1 overall pick ability that we now just have to see honed by this staff.
What's funny, Mike, is Taylor's the Notre Dame fan. I asked about Marcus Freeman. I'm the Florida fan. She asked about DJ Lagway. So we're just trying to pump each other's teams up. I love it. What was your favorite part about playing college football?
I think for me, the unique people it exposes you to, a locker room, especially at the high levels in Notre Dame, Florida, all these different universities, you're exposed to so many different people from so many different backgrounds. And then the environments you get to play in, getting to go and be on the road at the Big House, getting to play at the Coliseum in Southern California. My last year getting to head down to Oklahoma and beat the Sooners, humble brag there, in a place where they didn't lose many games at the time. I just think the environments and the atmospheres around the sport are what separate it from so many other big-time sports, whether it's college or the NFL.
Mike, you mentioned earlier the pay to play, and that's a big topic this offseason. Another one is kind of how this college football, as it continues to expand, also how the SEC and Big Ten kind of just want to have it all SEC, Big Ten. But what are your thoughts on that when it comes to automatic bids, or when it comes to kind of some of these things that we've seen them start to argue for SEC, Big Ten mainly, but how that will shake out for some of the other conferences and independents?
Yeah, I think in general, my thought process with all the change going forward, because I do worry as someone that has grown up with college football in the center of my heart for so much of my life, as a fan, as a player, and now as someone who covers the sport. I worry that with too much tinkering, we risk eroding the core and the foundation of the sport to a point that maybe threatens it long term. It's not going to be anytime soon. We know the Saturdays still hit, and the same refrain everyone says. And so my thought process with a lot of this is less is more. We do not need an expanded playoff that then complicates the system with double buys and with a million different automatic qualifiers for each league. Let's leave it so that the 5 conference champions that are the highest rated get an automatic bid. We're going to the natural seeding this year, and then let's do the 11 automatic qualifiers after that. We're going to hear the politicking every year from different heads of conferences, from different coaches of teams about what committees or computers or different algorithms that we use to choose these teams should value. Right now, strength of schedule has been the topic du jour for everyone out of the SEC because one of the, listen, I have a lot of respect for Kalen DeBoer, but this Alabama team to me was not the one worth fighting for, and yet here we are. And so what I want to see going forward is less of these constraints when it comes to how we build the future for player movement and payment. We'll put structures in place, but we don't need to micromanage and overmanage. We will expand the playoff because these people can't ignore the money that comes with it, but I think we need less is more when it comes to the amount of directives and new things and caveats that we're adding to the sport.
Are Kalen DeBoer and Brian Kelly on hot seat might be too strong, but are they on warm seats?
Ooh, you know what? I can't put anything past Tuscaloosa at this point because the standard is different around there. They're coming off the greatest dynastic run in the history of college sports, and I do know in the past there have been plenty of examples of coaches who the standard that they would have applied to any other school does not apply there, and you're expected more. That being said, I don't think his seat, barring a total collapse, which I just don't think is possible with the level of talent they have and the level of coaching he applies, I think that seat's going to be in a pretty good place. Brian Kelly is an interesting situation here because, again, you've had a Heisman Trophy winner under your belt. You've got a guy in Garrett Nussmeier that could be another number 1 overall pick caliber quarterback this year based on the ability I've seen. But the defense has been a work in progress over the last few seasons, and it's kept them from doing what LSU's used to. The last 3 head coaches there have won national championships. That's why Brian Kelly went there. And so if this is a team that at worst isn't playing for the SEC championship this year and in a conversation and in the college football playoff, I should say they're going to have to make the college football playoff, I think, for this to quiet down. I still don't think they would fire either of these coaches after this year, and I don't think they should fire either of these coaches after this year. I think continuity goes a long way in the modern landscape of the sport, but it's going to get uncomfortable for both if these aren't playoff teams in 2025, 2026.
One of the teams close to us also, Mike, that have maybe a little bit frustrated with their coach right now, and that's the Florida State Seminoles. I want to get your thoughts, though, on Tommy Castellanos and how maybe a Gus Malzahn may be able to bring out a little bit more from him than what we saw last year.
Yeah, Tommy was such a fascinating case study last year just in terms of all the dynamic athletic ability he brings to the table here and how that was going to mix in that offense. And I do think, to your point, Gus is one of the most creative play callers our sport has had in the last couple of decades here. We've seen it at a number of spots now. He's been one of the offensive innovators that's really helped. And listen, he's part of the growing trend, right? We saw last year how it can look when someone who is an acting head coach and has that recently in their background decides to take one of these big Power 4 coordinator jobs and kind of it shows you the direction of the sport. But to answer your question, yes, I think there's a lot to work with there. Now, still a little bit, raw and chaotic sometimes as a passer, but I think in college football, especially with how effective the run game can still be at this level and how much we still index on that compared to maybe the NFL, even if that's experiencing a renaissance, having a quarterback with that kind of ability to play with someone like Gus Malzahn is something I am very intrigued by going into this season. I was last year. I thought it was going to work out a lot better for Tommy Castellanos last year than it ended up working out. And so I'm still someone that maybe holds on to, hey, the electric ability I saw on tape needs to have a place to go, and maybe with the right person to harness it can finally tap into what could be the ceiling for him.
Mike Golick Jr., co-host of Golick and Golick on FanDuel Sports Network with us. Also, of course, a college football analyst on TNT Sports. Mike, this may be not a fair question, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Who has a better season, Gunnar Stockton or Carson Beck?
I am going to say at this point, I trust the infrastructure at Georgia a little more than I trust Carson Beck overall. I was never someone that was sold on the idea of Carson Beck as a number one overall pick candidate legitimately going into last season, and that was the conversation that a lot of people were having, even before the injury late in the season that kept him out of the meaningful games in the postseason. But I think you saw, listen, in the playoffs especially, Notre Dame got to play Gunnar Stockton in Georgia in the college football playoff. We saw maybe some of the limitations there, but I do think him having to step up and step in on some of the biggest stages in the sport early in his development, that's a huge feather in his cap to go on there, the level of talent you're going to have access to every year. And so I think it's going to somewhat depend on how you define this. So I'll give myself a crutch in this, as you described, unfair question, and say I still think Georgia capable of more team success with Gunnar Stockton at the helm than maybe Miami and Carson Beck are this season.
Yeah, it's hard to not put some faith into a guy like Kirby Smart. I want to talk about another interesting storyline this offseason that we've talked a lot about this on this show just because of kind of all of the back and forth that happened. But when you look at rankings, one team that I keep seeing ranked pretty high in the SEC and college football in general, that's Tennessee. And it's fascinating to me because we had all of this drama with Nico and then Joey Aguilar going back over there. But they have them pretty high ranked. Is that confidence in what Joey could possibly do, or do you think that's a Josh Heupel and what he's been able to do when it comes to developing some of these quarterbacks?
I think it's Josh Heupel and the system, right? Because what we've seen consistently from Tennessee since he's been there, quite honestly, has been this is a program that's going to run the football at a high level. They're going to have an above average to very good offensive line, which has been pretty consistent this time there. And, oh, by the way, they're going to have a defense that's pretty vicious. Now, all of those positions lost important guys to the NFL during this last cycle, but part of what you expect in a program like Tennessee at this point in the life cycle is they've done a good job recruiting and developing and building up a pipeline of guys that can fit in there. The variable has been what's going on at quarterback. You had the good when Hendon Hooker's in there and seems to unlock that offense. And with everyone else, it's sort of been an incomplete grade. It's an offense that's very quarterback solvent, right? You can get a high floor pretty quickly because with pace and space and a quarterback with a modicum of athleticism, man, it's really hard to defend all that field. The thing that unlocks it is what we saw with Hendon Hooker when you can have someone that hits more consistently on the deep balls that really mess with the math on the field. Now you've just got too much ground for almost any college defense to cover, sans a very few with elite talent in the defensive line and linebacker room. And so I think with that is, yeah, it's faith in Josh Heupel and the rest of those systems that he's gotten to operate very well so far during his career.
All right, Mike, we started with a Jaguars question with Jack Kaiser. We'll finish with a Jaguars question with Travis Hunter. Of course, you watched him play both wide receiver and DB there at Colorado for Deion Sanders. What do you think his position in the NFL he'll be best at? Do you think it'll be receiver or corner?
I think right now cornerback is where I would still lean and put my money. I just think what we saw from him at that position, which is a much more difficult one to teach. I always tell people, cornerback and offensive line are the two most unnatural positions on the field. They're like little, corner's a little version of offensive line. Go backwards against some of the best athletes on the planet, communicate well with the other members of your group, and then go and operate accordingly. And some of the things that you just see Travis Hunter do naturally, the influence of Deion Sanders on his coaching during his time at Colorado and Jackson State, I think all of it adds up to a guy that's truly special at a position where it's really hard to find truly special. A lockdown cornerback, someone with all the different capabilities to make plays at that group that he has. And wide receiver, he is a little bit more raw, even if he is explosive, incredibly productive, all the things that we knew about him at Colorado. And so I would say the biggest impact is going to be seen early at cornerback. And because of what's asked at that position, that's where the emphasis should be early on, knowing that it's a lot easier to stick someone out there, find a couple of isolated roles for him in the wide receiver room than it is. I've heard this from former defensive backs like Dominique Foxworth at ESPN. It requires a lot more from the neck up and in meeting rooms to play cornerback, and so I think that's where the emphasis should be early.
Final one before we let you go, Mike. I'm putting you on the spot a little bit. If right now, at this point in time, things can change in a month or two. If you were to name your expectations for those top 5 quarterbacks in college football this season, what would your 5 look like?
Ooh, what would my 5 look like here? I will tell you this. I am smitten with Garrett Nussmeier. I understand that there are flaws, but every time, and you guys know how this goes, you get ready to prepare for the draft or for something else, and you go watch guys. LSU had Will Campbell. I loved watching him this year, and every time I went to watch their tape, I kept running into the same thing where I just started watching Nussmeier, and that never happens to me. Usually I go watch quarterbacks, and I end up enamored with an offensive lineman, watching one of them because the heart wants what it wants. Garrett Nussmeier, the arm talent, the risks he was willing to take, the way he moved around in the pocket, all of these things just kept jumping off the screen to me. And so I think he's the one that I'm most smitten with right now. The other one that I'm really excited to watch, and I just started digging into a little more lately, is Lenora Sellers at South Carolina. I think he's fascinating. I know we're going to do the Arch Manning thing, and everybody wants to look into that, but I just think the athletic gifts that you saw last year were the selling point, and what a lot of people remember about Sellers at South Carolina and the roller coaster that you kind of rode with him. But I think there's better throws on tape than I expected to go watch back in retrospect. And so I don't know if I have 5 for you right now. I mean, we know the other names that are going to be involved in this. Carson Beck's going to be involved in this. Everyone's excited to see Arch like I am, and I think he'll do really well. Selfishly, I'd love to see C.J. Carr in the mix for this for Notre Dame and their homegrown prospect, but I think those two in Sellers and Nussmeier right now in the SEC are the two that I'm really most excited to watch.
Love it. Yeah, we're big fans of Lenora Sellers too. We were just talking about him, I think early this week or late last week. We were all kind of hyping him up a little bit. So similar trajectory when it comes to that. But again, Mike, we really appreciate your time. Everyone, you can find him on X at Mike Golick Jr. and now on FanDuel Sports Network, a host of Golick and Golick. So Mike, I hope you have a good rest of your day and thanks for joining us.
Thank you guys. Appreciate you having me.
Like he said, 3 to 5 Eastern, gets to do the show with his dad. Such a cool opportunity, and their guests are insane as well. They should be because they've both worked, with ESPN in the past. Yeah. Certainly have great contacts. Like when I asked him about playing college football, his favorite thing was about the people, right? And so guys like Greg Sankey comes up on Friday, the commissioner, of course, of the SEC. You have Rob Manfred, who's been on already this week. I mentioned Marcus Freeman, who's been on. Like a really good guest there for them. All right, when we return, let you hear from Liam Coen, from Anthony Campanelli, and from Travis Hunter. You are listening to Helmets and Heels on 1010XL 92.5 FM.
A bunch of misfits that are finally starting to gel.
Veterans are starting to play back to form, and the rookies are developing faster than I thought. There's 2 or 3 potential all-stars in there.
1010XL, Jacksonville Sports Radio.
Hey, this is Coach Jason Gibson of your Jacksonville Sharks. I know the importance of a strong game plan, and that's exactly what I've got with Clay Solar Installation Partners. They did the install of the solar panels at my house, and I couldn't be happier. Lower energy bills, clean power, and a winning team that made the whole process easy. If you're looking to save money and go solar, trust the pros at Clay Solar. Call Karen at Clay Solar today and tell them that Coach Gibson sent you.
AC's broke, it ain't no joke. Call Florida Home AC. Florida Home AC. Florida Home AC. Florida Home AC. FloridaHomeAC.com.
Hi, I'm Malcolm Anthony. Have you been charged with a crime? You don't have to face it alone. I'm here for you. Stay out of trouble, but if you don't, call me. 285-4LAW. That's 285-4LAW in the 904.
Thy ticket, Lady Jennifer of Coolidge.
Well, many thanks, good sir. Hereeth my Discover card.
They accept Discover at Renaissance fairs?
Yeah, they do here. Discover is accepted at the places I love to shop. Getteth with the times.
With the times?
You're playing the lute. Yeah, and it sounds pretty good, right?
Discover is accepted at 99% of places that take credit cards nationwide. Based on the February 2024 Nielsen report.
It's Helmets and Heels, Kingfish Pest Control Wednesday. Proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
The 2025 season schedule has dropped, and single-game tickets are on sale now. Be at the bank to watch Travis Hunter, Trevor Lawrence, and the Jaguars take on the biggest names in the NFL. Don't miss your favorite matchup and secure your tickets now by visiting jaguars.com/tickets or call 904-633-2000. See you this fall, Jags fans.
Yes, sir. That's the best decision. I love it.
Life is just so busy this time of year. Between work, the kids' games, family vacations, I need a yard hero to free up my weekends.
You mean somebody who does mowing and trimming?
Yeah.
How about mosquito control?
Yeah.
What about irrigation and pet waste removal?
You do that too? You're my lawn hero.
Find your lawn hero at heroeslawncare.com. Heroes Lawn Care, because every lawn needs a hero.
Lauren Brooks here. At Hodges Mazda, they are proud of their solid reputation in the Jacksonville community. As your hometown Mazda dealer, their high customer service standards and their huge inventory of new and used cars provide their customers a consistently first-rate car buying experience. Their professional non-commissioned sales team put your best interest first without exception. And all new vehicle purchases include the Hodges Mazda Protection Package. Visit them online today at hodgesmazda.com or stop in to learn more and discover the Hodges Mazda difference.
Hacker here for Awaken 180 Weight Loss. Look, the summer has arrived. Memorial Day is in the rearview mirror. It's vacation season for me, and over the next couple of weeks, whether it's a cruise, going out to Las Vegas, I'm going to bust out the tank tops, man. I'm going to show off the bod a little bit. Now, would I have done that 100 pounds ago? Of course not, but thanks to the great folks at Awaken 180 Weight Loss, I really have a new lease on life. It's life changing. I'm in the maintenance program now, doing really well, right? The weight is not coming back on. That's almost as rewarding, if not a little more rewarding. It's one thing to lose the weight. It's something else to keep it off. I've been able to do that with the great folks of Awaken 180 Weight Loss. If it's time in your life to make that change like it was for me, go to awaken180weightloss.com or call 844-346-1800. If I can do it, you can do it. Awaken 180 Weight Loss.
WJXL AM Jacksonville Beach. WJXL FM Jacksonville Beach.
ET here, and if you've ever been injured in an accident, visit my buddy Dr. McGowan at McGowan Spinal Rehabilitation Center. You have 14 days to see a doctor and protect your insurance benefits, even if you're at fault. And no matter what you hear, you have the right to choose your own doctor. So I recommend McGowan Spinal Rehabilitation. Their auto experts will guide you in every step of the way to ensure the care that you need. Your recovery starts with McGowan Spinal Rehabilitation.
At Cannons of Jacksonville, they know that when you're towing anything, you gotta have products you can rely on. With over 50 years of fabrication expertise, the family at Cannons can repair or install precisely what you need to tow with confidence. Whether it's a heavy-duty hitch, trailer frame, gooseneck, tow bar, or any other towing accessory, Cannons will provide you with unmatched precision and durability. For all your towing needs, visit cannonsofjacks.com, where quality and customer satisfaction collide.
Your home is your sanctuary where memories are made. Jack's homeowners trust Superior Fence and Rail to make their home feel safe, secure, and complete. Imagine a classic wood fence for privacy, sturdy aluminum to protect your pets, or a modern vinyl design that boosts curb appeal. Every fence is built with precision and pride, standing strong in every season.
When you're on the fence, about a fence, SuperiorFenceandRail.com.
This is your Southeast Orthopedic Specialist local sports update. I'm RJ Saunders for 1010XL. This update brought to you by the Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp. Day 2 of Minicamp is in the book for the Jacksonville Jaguars, and competitiveness is continuing to rev up. However, the day would belong to the defense, according to Coach Liam Coen.
I thought their energy was better than the offense's. Just making plays, had a little juice. Yeah, even if they maybe an offense made a play, I thought the defense just kept responding, whereas maybe the offense just kind of maybe let the defense set the tone a little bit today in a lot of ways.
Sound courtesy of Jaguars.com. NBA mock drafts continue to be released by league experts. Sports Illustrated projects Florida guard Walter Clayton Jr. being selected 25th overall by the Orlando Magic. Right now, 89 degrees at 12:59. Time and temp brought to you by Bueller Air and Plumbing. Stay cooler with Bueller.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
I've been waiting on the sunset, bills on my mind.
Doll, RJ Saunders. I'm Lauren Brooks with you. Mia O'Brien on vacation until next week. Today, the Jaguars are back out on the field for mandatory minicamp day 2. Let's hear a couple of comments from head coach Liam Coen, who met with reporters post-practice. And, of course, the number one thing that everyone wanted to know, how is Brian Thomas Jr. doing after he went down during a portion of practice earlier today?
Oh, yeah, he's fine. He absolutely could have gone back and played, just bruised it a little bit. Said he had great range of motion, strength. He was all good. So no issues, just precautionary. It was the shoulder. Yeah, it was one of them. I mean, he's had both, right? So it's nothing new for him. He's had them a little bit in the past. It's not anything that if he didn't come back out, he'd be really hurt. So he was completely cleared to play.
So that is obviously good news, exactly. And Mark Long, in case you couldn't hear, asked Liam, was it a shoulder? And he said, yeah, it was one of them.
One of the shoulders.
So, yeah, and he said he's had both of them. I think what he meant was he's had injuries to both of them.
Yeah. He does have both shoulders.
He does have both shoulders, thank goodness. I feel like you'd be hard-pressed to find a receiver in the NFL who's never had a shoulder injury.
Yes.
Just with the way that, they have to torque and then they hit the ground.
The way
obviously.
they land, yeah.
Exactly. All right, let's hear one more from Liam Coen. And certainly what we saw today, Taylor, is that the defense showed out better than the offense, and here's the head coach's thoughts on that.
I thought their energy was better than the offense's. Just making plays, had a little juice. Yeah, even if they maybe an offense made a play, I thought the defense just kept responding. Whereas maybe the offense just kind of maybe let the defense set the tone a little bit today in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I thought several guys on defense made big plays. We talked about the one earlier with Jordan Lewis and making sure that Travis Hunter didn't catch a ball as far as a touchdown. But there were other times that they got their hands up. Mason Smith certainly.
I saw Caleb Bransall make a really good play too in the end zone, and those are the ones.
Buster Brown again
Buster
today.
Brown, yep. And those are the ones that you want to see obviously happen. Darnell Savage, we mentioned getting the pick too. So there was a lot of impactful guys, and that's the secondary. You look up front, and we're talking about the pass rush and how they were kind of exposing some of the weaknesses on the offensive line, and we can go into all the details of it, but at the end of the day, the defensive line in general was winning. And so I do think that the defense as a whole today was really fun to watch. If you want to watch a good defense, that's what you kind of like to see those things. You like the interior pass rush. I saw that today, and it was amazing. It was like, we can get some pressure on the quarterback from the inside. That's nice. Those are things that I love to see because we talk about as much as, yes, I want the offense to score. I want to see those things. I think those things will start to come. But some of the defense was really bad last year. It was one of the worst defenses statistically in almost every category. And so you do want to see that pass rush get better. You do want to see multiple edges getting to the quarterback, not just two of them. You do want to see the secondary making the plays on the ball. And the one that the Ransall one, he was playing very sticky, right on. I can't remember who the receiver is right now, but right on him. And those are the things that start to fascinate me because when you take pressure off the offense, when your defense can play that way also. And when we talked to Jarian Jones, when he sat down with you and Mia, and one of the comments that he kind of talked about was when you're on the field for 9-10 minutes, like you're exhausted, and that's what the defense had to do a lot of times last year because they're right back out there, and then they're having long drives, and then the offense comes out and it's 3 and out, and they're right back out on the field.
Yeah, and look, I think the offense probably was a little affected and rattled a little bit when Brian Thomas Jr. went down. Obviously, like we said, he's fine, but I do think that kind of sucked the air out of the offense for sure, and so things didn't flow as smoothly from that point on. And is that attributed to that? I don't know. That's at least the emotion that I took from it. But every day that I've been to OTAs or now minicamp, the defense is by far more vocal than the offense on the sidelines, on the field, what have you. And so, again, I think the offense is still processing through everything that they have to do, right? Like the play calls are a lot longer and they have to, this is Trevor's first time doing all this with Liam Coen as his head coach. And so they have to, I think, think more. Like literally, I think they have to process more and think more, and the defense just gets to react. And so they are, though, like he said, bringing the juice. Like it is so much fun to watch when a defensive player makes a play. You watch that sideline just go nuts.
And that's what I think that one of the things too, someone on the text line had asked if you notice the difference in Trevor Lawrence, because we talk about the mechanical stuff. Yes, I do think also there were some timing issues that I was seeing today, and some of that may be that you're switching the way that we've talked about all the like kind of intricate things that they've been working on with Trevor, with where his foot is being planted and things like that. So now you're having to consciously think about that. And when you kind of get into an autopilot previous to that, when you do the same throwing motion or your feet are landing the same way or all of those type of things, that I'm not the QB whisperer, so I can't tell you all of those tiny things. But what I can tell you is Liam Coen was very adamant about the things that needed to change and what they wanted to fix and why they wanted to fix those things. And so that also was going to take some time for Trevor. When you all of a sudden you can talk about the golfers and when they change their golf swing, how long that really takes for them to get fully acclimated to what that feels like and how it's supposed to just naturally happen. I think we're seeing some of that right now with Trevor, because to me there was a few off timing things. We were seeing some overthrows, some not everything pretty, and I think that is some of the kinks that they're working out right now, and that's what this time of year is for.
Yeah, I always tell people, like, if a quarterback has to think about his footwork, and again, like you said, not the quarterback whisperer, but have watched a lot of quarterbacks over the years. If a quarterback has to think about the footwork, then he's not able to think as quickly about the progressions, right? Because you're still focused on mechanically what you're supposed to be doing instead of having that flow and then go through your progressions at that point in time. But also, I'm going to look at the positive here and say maybe Trevor looked really good last year at times because the defense was really bad and he was going up against a really bad secondary. And so he was able to flourish and shine in moments. And by the time the end of training camp was happening, and this defense is already more aggressive, and certainly a lot of that is because of Coach Campanile.
Yeah,
I'm gonna get it right, Taylor.
Campanile.
I just need to say it with an Italian accent.
Yeah, I think that going back to what you were just saying about Trevor, it's like when you're having a conversation with somebody and you're thinking about what you're going to say next, and you can't take all the information in of that conversation. You're listening, but are you really hearing? Because all you're doing is trying to think about what you need to say next, or your comeback, or whatever the case may be. And that's kind of what it is when they're changing their mechanics. And you see quarterbacks do it. They change their throwing motion and all of those things, but it does take time to adjust to that. And that is something that I saw today. I saw some moments where I was like, you can tell he's trying to get comfortable in what he's doing right now.
And I wonder, is the soreness, that general soreness, is that affecting him at all
too,
with that right arm, his throwing arm? I certainly hope not. I hope that it's all just getting used to this playbook, the offense. Liam Coen said that Trevor has a great command of the offense. So that's the good news, is he has been studying certainly the playbook. Now we just need to see the offense executed. All right, let's get it to a cut from Travis Hunter, who also met with media post-practice today and was asked about his personality this offseason.
It's been very easy for me. The guys come in and I bring the juice every day. I always got a smile on my face, making everyone laugh when I get the chance. So we just been fun, having fun, and just being kids out here, just loving and living our dream.
And I wanted to play that, Taylor, because to me, when you go out to practice, whether he's playing offense or defense, you can always find Travis Hunter because you just look for the guy dancing. You just literally look for the guy who's like hanging out, and he's not doing it in a disrespectful fashion by any means. He really is enjoying himself. But I do think that he might have been a little frustrated after the way that Jordan Lewis was able to get the pass breakup on him today.
Yeah, and that's what he used the word. He's like, we're just kids out there. And I love that, because that's when you can tell that a player truly loves, when we have that conversation about who loves football and to that next level, much Travis Hunter loves football. And you can tell that because he's just having fun out there. And obviously, I feel like you really have to love football to play both sides and have to take in all of that information, because that's a lot. But yeah, you definitely sense some frustration with him. And I think there was maybe a few different things that led to that. But I do think the Jordan Lewis not letting him get that. And again, it was just a really good play by Lewis. And I think that in those moments, though, that shows you how competitive Travis Hunter is, because it's a mini camp in June and he's visibly, or if you're audibly hearing him talk, you could tell it was some frustration there. And some of that also maybe the offense he's expecting the offense to be a little further than what he feels like they are right now, because if we're seeing that, I'm sure they're feeling that.
Yeah, offensively, Parker Washington, I thought, looked good again today. And Dorian Singer, again, the undrafted rookie free agent, number 13. Once you realize where he is on the field, your eyes are naturally drawn to him because he catches pretty much everything that comes his way. All right, one here from Coach Campanile as he was asked about Travis Hunter and his talent.
Yeah, he just has, a wealth of talent, and he's a super intelligent guy, which makes it really fun. He's really quick on the uptake. So he's a fun guy to coach, to be around. I know his position coaches love coaching him, and it's pretty impressive to watch a guy do that. I think it's cool. It's been really fun. But I also think the coaches, Coach Milas, Drew Lascari, Anthony Perkins, Bill Sheridan, those guys have done a great job of just getting him up to speed on everything. And, he's done a great job responding to it.
He's a competitive guy. Yeah. That's the bottom line. He has always been incredibly talented, whether he plays receiver or corner. Every time he steps on the football field, he feels like he's the best player on the field. I don't know that he would ever say those words because that sounds so egotistical, but I think in watching him and watching his body language at Colorado, certainly now, this is a guy that he expects to get the interception if he's playing DB, and he expects to get the touchdown if he's playing on offense.
Yeah, and I think the way that some of the offseason things went for him, too, with people trying to tell him he needed to play one position shows the competitiveness of the way he reacted to that. And some people took that negatively, no, you do what the NFL team that drafts you wants you to do. But to me, it was a positive sign of, number one, he is confident enough that he's able to play both sides. But I also think that just shows he didn't want to be pigeonholed into one thing because he fully feels like he has the ability to be both sides. And so far, early on, it feels like, and I've mentioned this, my concern isn't his ability and his ableness to be able to play both positions. My concern is more so the playbook and all the intricate things. We just heard Mike Golick go on about how difficult it is to learn just the defensive back playbook, and now you're adding the entire route runnings and the offense and all of that stuff. That, to me, I'm a little more concerned about than I am his just true athleticism, physical ability to do both positions.
Yeah, when Mike Dempsey had the question, do you think Travis Hunter will be a better receiver or corner? My answer was the same as Michael Jr.'s. I said to him, I think it's corner based off of what I saw him do in college. It feels like because he's getting more snaps at receiver than he's going to get at defensive back, it may take a little longer for us to see fully him out there. Like, I don't think he's going to start at corner when September comes and week 1 arrives when the Jags play host to the Panthers. But I wonder how quickly, if that's the plan eventually, I wonder how quickly that it does end up happening. It's a lot to ask a rookie to do. And so maybe that isn't the plan. Certainly we know for now it's situational football for him on defense. But I do wonder if we get to a point where he is maybe not starting at receiver and he is starting at corner, and it ends up flipping what the original plan was.
Yeah, and I answered wide receiver in that because I felt like, number one, we've had this conversation that he's going to be mainly on the offensive side of the ball. We're seeing him a lot on the offensive side of the ball. I think receiver is an easier position to kind of lock down, and if that's kind of what the team is having you focus on, I felt like that is good. And I feel like it would be just supernatural for him too. I do think that level of going from college defensive back to the NFL defensive back, we see already guys that are some of the best DBs in college football and that only do that come and struggle on the next level. So it's hard for me to say, especially not being able to be in that meeting room every single week and on that side of the ball every single week, that he'll ever be able to be a really, really good top corner if that's not where he is the majority of the time.
Yeah, and it also, I think, depends on how does the receiving core shape up, right?
Yeah.
Like, do we end up seeing a lot more of Parker Washington on the field alongside Brian Thomas Jr. and De'Ami Brown and Brenton Strange, of course, as well? And defensively, do they need Travis Hunter?
Yeah.
Or do they end up really liking Jarian Jones outside opposite Tyson Campbell, which Tyson Campbell's had an amazing offseason, in addition to Jordan Lewis and nickel. And so they don't really need him as much there.
Yeah.
They're comfortable with the secondary the way it is. And so then they look certainly to him being way more involved on offense. And look, they've told us that's the plan.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying that they're going to change it. It's just, if he is a better corner, I wonder how that all shakes out.
And I do think that we could see a little bit of changes week to week this first year, because if you're facing a team whose offense, you're not truly worried they only have number one wide receiver, do you really need Travis Hunter out there playing a ton of cornerback? Or if you're facing a team that does have, let's say they have 3 really good wide receivers and you want to have one of your better corners out there, and vice versa. If you're playing one of the better defenses in the league, you're probably going to want Brian Thomas Jr., Travis Hunter, De'Ami Brown, and Parker Washington, whoever the case may be, all out there, because you're going to need all of your weapons. And so I do think we could see a week to week where maybe we see a little bit more defensive snaps in certain situations. situations. Obviously, situational. We know the third downs, red zones. We're expecting that anyways. So if the Jags are in the red zone a ton certain weeks, then you may see a lot more Travis than you do on weeks when it's a 15-10 game, you know. Hopefully we're not seeing that.
I don't want any of those. Get that Bears 15-10 out of here. All right, let's get it to golf on the other side. We will chat with Gary Smits from the Florida Times Union and talk all things U.S. Open at Oakmont up there in Pennsylvania. You are listening to Helmets and Heels on 1010X on 92.5 FM.
1010XL takes you behind the microphone.
We are no longer friends. Why? What do you mean, why?
Dan Hicken and Jeff Prosser.
You're wrecking my life.
Mornings on 1010XL.
What does that do? Did that blow your mind?
Until the plumbing backs up, the AC goes out, or your septic system decides to act up. The good news? You don't have to call 3 different companies when things go wrong. Just call my friends at Duck Duck Rooter. They're your one-stop shop for plumbing, septic, and air conditioning, all under one roof. So whether it's a leak, a clog, or your system just won't cool, they've got you covered. Don't take my word for it. Check out their 5-star reviews on Google. Give them a ring at 904-862-6769 or visit duckduckrooter.com. Duck Duck Rooter Plumbing, Septic, and Air Conditioning. One call does it all.
Hey, Hicken here. I couldn't be any happier than to join the George Moore Chevrolet family. When I say family, I mean it. Visit their beautiful showroom today off Atlantic Boulevard. Find out exactly what I'm talking about. No pressure, just friendly help. And whether you want a car, a truck, SUV, electric, pre-owned, you name it, George Moore Chevrolet has it. And if you can't make it over to Atlantic Boulevard, no problem. MooreChevy.com is easy to navigate as any site you will try. It's never been more easy to use. George Moore Chevrolet. Together, let's drive.
With Lee and Kate's Glass, you're gonna see a big difference. For 100 years, service you can trust. Lee and Kate's Glass, depend on us. Glass solutions to meet your needs. Reliable quality guaranteed. Complete customer satisfaction. With Lee and Kate's Glass, you're gonna see a big difference.
Been in a car crash? I'm local attorney Rick Alexander, and I've made it our mission at the Alexander Law Practice to listen to you so I can fight for the best possible result for you. I've been practicing over 30 years, and our team focuses on guiding you through the entire process. And because fees and reimbursement costs come out at the end of the case, I will never ask you to come out of pocket. For a free review, call 904-400-6600 or log on to alexanderlawpractice.com, Jacksonville.
They were right. It could have waited. I can't believe it happened to me. Reaching to check my phone. Now my family has to hear that I'm never coming home again. Officer?
I'm so sorry. I have some very sad news to share with you.
Every day, 9 people on Florida roadways don't make it home. I was one of the people that didn't make it home.
Ride with Do Not Disturb. Every trip, every time. Let's get everyone home safely. A message from Florida Department of Transportation, Target Zero. For more information, visit targetzerofl.com.
Helmets and Heels. Kingfish Pest Control Wednesday.
What does your dream backyard look like? Hey, it's Joe C. and my friends at CSS Fireplaces and Outdoor Living can design an outdoor kitchen layout custom built to your taste and lifestyle. You dream it, they can build it. CSS Fireplaces and Outdoor Living. Visit cssoutdoor.com.
David Lane here, and once again, I'm happy to share news of my success with back and knee surgeries at Southeast Orthopedic Specialists. Whatever it is that's bothering you, take it from me. Simply set an appointment today at Southeast Orthopedic Specialists and let them help you get back to normal life. I'm certainly glad I did.
Relieve pain and get back to life. Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
Get more Gators on the Gator Bites podcast presented by Southeast Orthopedic Specialists with new episodes every Friday. Subscribe and listen by searching for 1010XL's Gator Bites podcast wherever you find podcasts and at 1010XL.com.
Hey, Hicken here for my friends at Zero Res. Gang, vacuuming is not sufficient to maintain the cleanliness and lifespan of your carpet, period. Do not, let me repeat, do not leave deep cleaning to yourself, but do it yourself dirt attracting carpet soaking machines. No. Call on the cleaning freaks from Zero Res. Big summer savings. 3 rooms of carpet clean starting at $129. Take 20% off air duct cleaning as well. Call them, 904-287-5727, and ask for the 1010XL special. Zero Res, spelled forwards or backwards. It's the right way to clean.
This is Hayes Carlion for First Florida Credit Union. I bank with First Florida Credit Union because I trust them. I can always count on them when it comes to the vast services they provide. The online banking services are outstanding. So easy to use, depositing checks through the mobile app is fast and efficient. I also go to the branch off 210 in St. Johns County and the Durbin location, but they have 10 branches in the Jacksonville area. You need to be banking with First Florida Credit Union. They're enriching people every day. Federally insured by NCUA, Equal Housing Opportunity Lender.
Are you struggling with hair loss? At IHRS, we understand because we've been there too. We're dedicated to finding the best solution tailored just for you.
My hair looks great. It was thinning, and IHRS restored my hair.
It's now fuller, it's thicker, voluminous. It's made me feel great.
With the latest technology and FDA-approved laser therapy, PRP, and non-surgical hair addition, we offer guaranteed solutions for men and women.
With over 35 years of experience, IHRS found a hair restoration for us, and we can find one for you.
For me.
For me.
And me too.
Visit hairforme.com or call 904-777-IHRS. Get a free microscopic analysis and get to the root of your problem. This $395 analysis is yours for free. Call 904-777-4477 now.
Mark Watson with Hardball Creative. What's better than beer? Cold beer. Put your company logo on a custom koozie. Check them out at hardballcreative.com.
Hardball Creative. Hardball does it all.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Now, another great guest on the Checkmate Coatings phone line. Hello. Your floor's missing piece.
Taylor Dahl, RJ Saunders. I'm Lauren Brooks with you. Mia O'Brien on vacation until next week. Gary Smith of the Florida Times Union not on vacation, and he joins us now to discuss all things golf and some Jaguars as well. Gary, thanks so much for taking the time.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. All right, let's start with Oakmont. The one thing everybody knows is those roughs are insane. Like, I've seen people standing and you can't even see below their knees in the roughs. But outside of that, what else should we know about this golf course?
There's no water on the golf course. Not a single pond, lake, creek, nothing like the TPC Sawgrass. And it's also, but in place of the water, they've got many, many, many cavernous bunkers. And hitting into one of these traps, whether it's a fairway bunker or a greenside bunker, it's almost like taking the penalty you would for hitting in the water. They're big, they're deep, and that's the difficulty of this course. I think the green speed is going to be what it is. The USGA is always going to set these up very, very fast, and players can handle that. Matter of fact, players have come to prefer fast greens over the years. So, but I would say the bunkers, the rough is going to be really tough. There was some video that somebody posted of Phil Mickelson practicing. It was just like maybe a half an hour ago, and he was at the practice green, and he was trying to hit balls out of the heavy rough, and it took him 3 tries to get a ball on the green. So it's fairways and greens will win this thing.
Yeah, I read somewhere that in the past 9 U.S. Opens at Oakmont, only 23 players have finished under par during that time, which is kind of wild. And so usually we talk about, certain players that play good at certain courses, whatever their strength may be. When it comes to Oakmont, is there anybody that possibly has any sort of advantage at a course like this?
Well, the long hitters will if they keep it in the fairway.
Yeah.
And so, Rory, Scotty's long enough. He's not as long as Rory, but it'll suffice. And but you've got to be, you've got to be long and straight on this course, or else, bad things are going to happen. You can go to Augusta, or you can go to the TPC Sawgrass, and you can hit 6 or 7 fairways, and find a way to get it on the green and make some putts. But in this case, if you hit 6 or 7 fairways in this course, you're not going anywhere. You're going, it's that hard. And anybody who's spent time in the Northeast during the summer knows that the kind of grass, that bent grass that they have, if you let it grow long enough and it's wet enough and it's had a lot of rain up there lately, it's really, really thick. And I don't know that the advantage will be to whoever hits the most fairways and hits them at a certain length. 250-yard drives won't do it. But if he can hit it about 300 and keep it safe most of the time, I think he'll be okay.
Obviously, all eyes will be on Scotty Scheffler, Bryson DeChambeau, and of course, Rory McIlroy, who has not been playing well as of late. But I feel like the question, Gary, is Scotty versus the field. Who are you taking?
The fields in this case. On this course, yes. It's as well as Scotty has been playing. The one thing to remember about this is his first trip to this golf course as a professional. So he hasn't really seen it any more than a lot of guys have. He played it as an amateur in 2016 when he qualified for the Open through the local and sectional process and missed the cut. So, but it's a little bit of a different course. And again, the U.S. Open. So if you're looking for, this is the place to look if you're looking for an unexpected winner. Michael Campbell, okay, like in 2005 at Pinehurst, when everybody was thinking it was going to be a battle between Tiger, Phil, and DJ Singh and David Duval. And a lot of times, guys who aren't as gifted physically as or skilled as Scotty, Rory, Tiger, or Phil will excel at a U.S. Open because they don't take any unnecessary risks. They know their limitations and they play to that. The USGA encourages. They have setups to encourage the big players to try to make mistakes, to try to be too risky. And if Phil had just kind of throttled back and played the U.S. Open like a Corey Pavin did, then I think he might have won a couple of these. But you can't go into a setup like this. And, the players think it's purposely done by the USGA to embarrass them. This has been a kind of like an argument for the ages at the U.S. Open. And the USGA president, during one Open in 1974, I believe, at Winged Foot, when the winning score was 7-over, he said, "We're not trying to embarrass the best players in the world. We're trying to identify them." And that's always been their philosophy. And, and it used to be even worse. They used to play the final 36 holes in one day. It used to be called Open Saturday. They last did that in 1964. And then if you were tied, the playoff used to be 36-hole playoff. And then it was 18, and now it's a 2-hole playoff and everything. So I think, and plus, here's the thing, the guys who accept the setup and don't complain a whole lot and don't let it beat them before they even set on the first tee are going to have a chance.
Most consecutive years making the cut at the U.S. Open. The longest active streaks are Xander Schauffele, Hideki Matsuyama, Patrick Cantlay, Bryson DeChambeau, Harris English, and Rory McIlroy. Of those, I'm going to say outside of DeChambeau because I think he's like second favorite in betting odds right now. Yeah. Do you like any of those guys?
Yes, I like Harris English because he is going to be the perfect example of a guy who stays within his skill set, doesn't overtake too many chances, and goes out there and plays very, very steady. And Harris English, not only has he gone 9 for 9 in making U.S. Open cuts, but he's got 3 top 10s, including a third and a fourth. So he's been able to get into contention under this kind of a setting. And Harris English has won a tournament this year, and he won it at Torrey Pines in difficult conditions. It was cold, it was chilly, it was windy, and he gutted that thing out, shot 73 in the final round to do it. So I think if you're looking for a real underdog, I love Harris English.
And he tees off tomorrow morning, 7:18 a.m. alongside Tommy Fleetwood and Keegan Bradley. And then following them, you've got Xander Schauffele, Bryson DeChambeau, and Jose Luis Ballester. All right, Gary, Harris English is a big Jaguars fan, right?
Yes, as a matter of fact, because his agent, he went, I'm trying to get this straight. Oh, yeah. He went to high school in Chattanooga, Tennessee with Liam Cohen's agent. So that's the connection there. And I remember a week of the Players Championship, Coach Coen was kind enough to let me come up and chat with him about how much golf he plays and how much he enjoys the sport. And while we were sitting there, he got a text and he looked at, Harris texted said, "Are you going to come out here and watch me play?" He said, "I'll try." So they're pretty good buddies. And I asked Coach, I said, "Has Harris had you up to Sea Island to play up there yet?" He said, "No, not yet." He said, "But I haven't exactly had time," and he's right about that. We have another Jaguars coach who loves golf, but I think they love football better. I think it's what they devote their time to, right?
Yeah, no shots at the previous regime. But yeah, Sea Island is beautiful. Maybe in the next 6 weeks he'll be able to get up there. All right, Gary, your thoughts on practice today? Certainly a little chippiness from the defensive side. Defense won the day overall, and Brian Thomas Jr. is okay, but outside of those.
Yeah, man, you're right. The defense did have a good practice, especially the secondary. They got their hands on a lot of balls. Ransaw had one good play. Antonio Johnson, God bless him, he's still here and he's still trying there. But he had that interception that he turned into a kind of a quasi pick six. The fans got a real big thrill about that. Christian Raswell made a play. So the quarterbacks as a whole did not have their finest hour today, and there was a little bit more pressure defensive line. Josh Allen got through. It would have been a sack if they'd been playing under normal conditions of Trevor. So I don't know if everybody needs to be overly concerned that the offense is looking a little ragged right now. It is mandatory minicamp and it is a new system. Maybe the installs are going a little bit slower than we thought. But on the other hand, I think Jaguars fans can be encouraged that the defense, which is clearly the weak link last year, is showing some signs of being a little bit better. And, the one guy I really love is Caleb Rensaw. I think that guy's going to be a pretty good player. And Tyson Campbell's been running around making some plays. He knocked away a ball from Brian Thomas Jr. yesterday. That was a very good play. So, you get in these situations and you say, okay, well, one side of the ball was good. Then tomorrow it could be the complete reverse. I'm just wondering if the install is taking us a little bit longer than coaches thought it was on offense.
Yeah, certainly a possibility. Yeah, I like Ransaw a lot too. I know Taylor saw him as well today for the first time. All right, Gary, what's coming up on the Times Union side of things?
Well, we all get some vacation time coming up, I do believe.
Sounds like us here.
But I'm not getting any just quite yet. We're gonna start rolling out the all First Coast spring sports teams. And everybody, Clayton Freeman, our high school editor, does a really good job of that. And we're gonna wrap up minicamp. We got some stories in the tank about that. I've got something about where the new quarterbacks coach and the passing game coordinator talked about kind of transitioning Trevor from the previous offense to this one. They say it's going to take advantage of his skill set, and they're really excited. I remember I asked Shane Whipple, the quarterback coach, given Trevor's skill set, did you ever have a 6'6" guy who could run a little bit, who's got that strong an arm? And he said, I've never had that combination. He said, I was really thrilled to be working with him and trying to get the system in there. So, remember everybody kind of last year, second day of training camp, and Trevor threw 4 picks, and it was panic mode. But I guess let's wait until August to see what they got.
Absolutely. All right, Gary. Well, we appreciate your time so much today.
Okay, thanks for having me, ladies. We'll see you.
Thank you. Enjoy the golf. Yeah, it's always interesting to watch Trevor Lawrence talk to, whether it's Liam Coen or Grant Udinski, the offensive coordinator, or Spencer Whipple, all the different guys that are out there to help them. The quarterbacks coach is Whipple. Yeah, it's a work in progress. Let's just leave it at that when it comes to the offense. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, he said the 4 picks and people panicked. Yeah. Let's wait. We probably should have panicked, honestly, because the offense did not look very good.
Might have, yeah. Although the fact that the defense got 4 picks is almost now really surprising looking back. One segment to go here on Helmets and Heels on 1010X on 92.5 FM.
The past comes to life in the present.
And the Jaguars are going to the playoffs.
The memories bridge the gap to the future.
From 27-0 to win the game.
Experience the most play-by-play sports on 1010XL.
Hey folks, Rick Ballou here for John's Auto. They've been a staple in Jacksonville going all the way back to 1985. At John's Auto, they service all makes, all models, cars, trucks, diesel, you name it, they do it. Whether it's routine maintenance or a complete engine overhaul. Call John's Auto on Arlington Road. That's 904-743-3857 or go to johnsautomotivejacks.com.
Lauren Brooks here for Terminix. When cockroaches move into your home or business, you want them out fast. At Terminix, they don't just get rid of the roaches, they evict them, and they work to prevent them from coming back. Because no one likes an uninvited pest, when cockroaches show up, so does Terminix. Don't live with a cockroach problem. I certainly don't. Terminix them. Terminix.com is where you need to go. You can find them online, and you can schedule a free inspection online. That's TERMINIX.com.
Guys, want a golf course fairway quality lawn? TopDressing.com just landed in Jacksonville with the golf course secret for St. Augustine grass homeowners. A patented process that aerates and turns your turf into a fairway stunner. Serious golf course technology, but in your yard. Less water, tighter cuts, total neighborhood domination. No one else scores a perfect 10 lawn. Hit TopDressing.com now. You will own the block. Top dress your yard like the pros with TopDressing.com.
Hey, Hicken here, or just call me Dreamfinders Danny. For a limited time to ring in the new year, Dreamfinders Homes is offering an amazing 4.99% fixed interest rate. Now's your chance to lock down that rate and get in the game. You heard me right. It's 4.99 fixed interest rate on select move-in ready homes. Visit dreamfindershomes.com for sales event information and get in the game. Interest rate available on select move-in ready homes. Restrictions and limitations apply. Go to dreamfindershomes.com for more details.
It's a Helmets and Heels Kingfish Pest Control Wednesday.
DivorceMenOnly.com. This is Kenny Lay of Kenny Lay & Associates. Our firm specializes in representing men in family law. That's all we do. That's our only focus. We can help with all of your family law needs, such as divorce, custody, alimony, and child support. For over a decade, we have helped thousands of men with these types of issues. We even have an appellate division ready to challenge a judge's ruling. If you need a family law attorney, go to DivorceMenOnly.com. DivorceMenOnly.com. Offices, Jacksonville.
Prosser here. Spring has sprung, and it's a great time to sell your house, but only if you have the very best on your side, and those very best are Chad and Sandy Newman. Spring selling season's here. Rates are down. Activity's up. It's the best time in years to sell your home, in fact, but there are homes sitting on the market. They don't have the right representation. That's where Chad and Sandy step in. Maybe you're worried your home needs repairs or updating and it won't sell for a good price. Maybe your family's growing and you need more space. Whatever the reason that you need to sell your home, Chad and Sandy deliver this promise to you. Chad and Sandy guarantee your home sold at an agreed-upon price and deadline, or they will buy it. Sounds pretty hassle-free to me. Take it from Mike and Rosemary in St. Augustine. We were determined to buy an affordable home in a specific school zone, but we didn't qualify for the loan needed to get one. Chad and Sandy's team worked with the lender, negotiated a higher qualification price, lower interest. It was huge, $200 less per month. Do it today. Call 414-6200 or go to chadandsandy.com.
1010XL's running game takes a giant step forward.
Fred Taylor is the whole package.
Fred Taylor joins Dan and Jeff on the drill. Monday morning running back with Fred Taylor is fueled by Epstein and Robbins and Monahan Jewelers.
It's E.T. here, and did you know that slow speed accidents can still cause serious injuries? Ignoring minor pain today can mean big problems tomorrow. Don't wait. Call my guys at McGowan Spinal Rehabilitation Center, the auto accident experts.
Daly's Dash is not only your Jaguars game day stop, but a great place to grab a meal any day of the week. To honor the Jags and the fans, we've crafted the Duval Sub. The Duval comes with freshly sliced turkey, ham, melted cheddar, and habanero jack cheese, topped with crisp lettuce, fresh tomatoes, and a double portion of our secret sauce, all served on a fresh roll. Come by your local's Daly's Dash today to get your delicious Duval Sub. Daly's is the official convenience store sponsor of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
It's tune-up time, and Florida Home AC, the official AC partner of the Jaguars, wants to partner with you for a cool summer season. Tune up your AC unit right now so it's running at peak performance when you need it most. Just call 777-4300 and order a tune-up for just $59. Keep your unit humming at optimal level. Log on to FloridaHomeAC.com and take advantage of their savings. Keep cool with Florida Home AC. That's 777-4300.
When the heat is on and we really need to show that we really care, do it with a full arrangement from Coen Flowers. This is ET, and let's make their day better than yesterday. Online at CoenFlowers.com since 1947.
Living on Amelia Island, having fun in Fernandina Beach? No matter what brings you to the fun, cozy town, make sure you check out the tap room at Mocama Beer Company. With a full flight of craft creations, from the Cosmico IPA to the Motor, the perfect pilsners and lagers, matching memories and some Mocama magic is what it's all about. Mocama Beer Company in Fernandina Beach, near the big water where the sun is born. And look for more Mocama craft at your local Total Wine or ABC Liquors.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
Now the cool down with Donovan Air, Electric and Plumbing. Keeping Jack's cool since 87.
All right, I'm going to cool down with one other note that I wanted to talk a little bit about from camp today. We mentioned the secondary, which I like that other people are noticing, obviously, the secondary, and because I think that was one of the biggest talking points coming into this offseason is how do you fix this secondary? How much was it fixed with the moves that they made? What's going on with Jarian? And all of these things are going to continue to be questions. But I like that so far. It does seem like they all are playing very cohesively and they look really good. But another thing that I noticed today also, and we haven't spoke on this at all so far, at least on this show today, was the running backs. I noticed they were doing, which is really fun, and I think this is the expectations from a Liam Coen offense. But there was a lot of outside perimeter stuff we're seeing, a lot of catches being made by running backs, which I love. And that is something that I've been talking about in my expectation when kind of some of the concerns from other articles talking about a Travis Etienne and the Jags aren't happy with Travis Etienne. Obviously, we've heard Liam Coen speak on that, and he said otherwise and kind of shot down some of the trade rumors and stuff like that. But that is one of the main reasons that I thought that Travis Etienne was such a great fit for this offense now with Liam Coen is his ability to catch passes and kind of that perimeter side. That's always been more of his strength. He hasn't been that up the middle, find the gaps, break the tackles type of guy. So being able to have an offense that may be able to actually scheme that, I think is very beneficial, and I saw a little bit of that today.
Yeah, I still have no idea who the starting running back is going to be. And again, it doesn't matter necessarily who starts. Bucky Irving last year for the Bucs only started 3 games, but he was clearly the feature back. Yeah. So it's not necessarily that they start. It's who will get the most carries. That to me is a massive question. And now having gone to multiple OTAs and a couple days of mandatory minicamp, I still cannot tell you who I think they even want to be the starting running back. And I'll give this caveat with when it comes to a blanket statement for the rookies. I think they want the rookies especially to earn everything, to earn certainly a starting role. And so I don't think you're going to necessarily see, and maybe this changes when we get to training camp, but necessarily see rookies assume a starting position, maybe outside of a Travis Hunter. I think they want them, like I said, to absolutely earn it. And so, and even Travis Hunter on defense, like we've talked about, isn't necessarily going to be starting. So I think they want to not necessarily bring them along slowly. I don't think it's that. I think it's just they want to show them what the NFL world is like. And you've got to battle these veteran guys, or at least guys with more experience than you have, in order to win those jobs. And so I'm really intrigued by when we get to the beginning of October and we've had the Jags play 4 games, who has the most carries on this team? Yeah, I really have no idea. And I also think what's going to be interesting, how they use the tight ends, because I have seen multiple different tight ends, not just Brenton Strange, be targeted as far as and them catch the ball too. I would have expected that to look a little different, honestly, and really the only tight end catching passes would be Brenton Strange. I guess I was probably more naive in that sense because we've heard so much about these other guys, Hunter Long and Johnny Munt, being the blocking guys. Yeah. But they also are good at catching the football too, at least again from what I've seen. And so I'm interested to see if that looks a little bit different too. If they're out there and a guy like a Johnny Munt, other teams think he's going to block, but he ends up being able to catch the football.
Being a pass catcher, yeah. And I do think, to your point, when you were just talking about the rookies coming in and not being hey, here you're battling for this position. You have to earn this spot. I do think that also you're getting that for the guys that have already been here too. And that's what I like, because we had this conversation with Frank when we were for the walk-off charities, and when we had him on, and he was saying, the depth is what kind of sticks out to him. And to me, the moment you have depth, for example, if we're talking about the offensive line, and it's just not like, oh, you've been this position, so you're automatically going to be given this position because that's what you've been the starter, whatever the case may be. And I'm not going into any of the specifics with that, just in general, when you're talking about the trenches especially. I think that this coaching staff and what we've seen and heard in camp so far, nothing's given to any of these guys. Not the rookies, not the guys that have been here, not the guys that now you kind of felt coming into the season that was their spot and somebody else's to earn. It doesn't feel like that, which I like that, especially for me with the offensive line, and I'll probably continue to say it. And when we were kind of going through some of our expectations for what the O-line may look like, and I said, if there's not battles, I'm concerned, because I think that last year, one of the biggest issues were there was nobody behind any of these guys that you felt like were pushing them whatsoever. So the guys kind of maybe got a little complacent, and they're like, it's my job, because, what are they going to put in if I'm hurt, or if I'm not playing, if I'm not starting? That's not the case, it feels like right now, and that's good. I'm not saying I still have my concerns of the O-line, but I also feel like there are guys that are pushing maybe some of these guys, the more veteran guys, to be better, and I think that's a positive that I'm at least taking out of that group.
Sure, and clearly that's the message that Liam Coen sent. We played that audio earlier of him talking about Anton Harrison. When he wants to go, he can go. If you don't have someone pushing you, do you have that competitive juice? I don't think so. I think in all lines of work, if you don't have anyone pushing you, if it's your job and nothing can change that, are you going to be as productive as you possibly could be? Or if there's competition threatening, I think you're going to ramp it up a little bit. And so it's certainly football, but it's life in general. Yeah, I think it's going to be a fascinating case study to see when the pads go on. Obviously, the offensive line versus the defensive line. But is that when they start to make a little bit more changes as far as the ones, those starters and the backups? Because it's been very, to me, from what I've seen, and I haven't been able to go to every single practice because a couple have been during our show, but I haven't seen as much rotation as I thought there would be because they preached competition.
Yeah.
And so I thought literally every series you'd be seeing different guys run in with the ones and things like that. And they are doing a little bit of it, but just not as much to the point, like I said, that I thought I would see, because they've talked so much about competition. So do we see that when it comes to training camp?
Yeah, and I would hope so. I think that right now I may say they're just trying to get some sort of set in front of Trevor Lawrence to begin things, starting to work together in some form. And obviously you want to have the best starting five out there. So hopefully in training camp, they're more focused on that than the comfortability of Trevor Lawrence. But maybe right now they're just saying, hey, let's just try and protect Trevor as much as possible. He's not getting hit, but there's still the circumstances where they're in the face, and you want him to be able to start getting these connections with the wide receivers, and they're learning a playbook, and there's a lot of things happening. He's changing his mechanics. So there's a lot of things that Trevor is doing right now, aside from having to worry about the offensive line and who's on and off. So maybe having the guys that maybe have a little bit more experience, not maybe with Trevor, but in general at their position, is the smart thing right now. And then once camp comes and the pads come on, you can kind of let them loose a little bit.
Yeah, and my point is more than the offensive line, a lot of different position groups. Yeah, I just thought there would be more rotation. But yeah, like I said, it may change. All right, before we get out of here tonight, we have Thunder Pacers. Yep. That series, of course, is tied at 1. It begins at 8:30 tonight. Us East Coast sports fans got to stay wide awake. And then tomorrow night, the Stanley Cup final continues with the Oilers at the Panthers. Panthers have a 2-1 lead after that 6-1 victory. That one at 8 o'clock. This one feels like if the Panthers win, to me, they might end up winning the series. And as far as the NBA goes, I have no idea what's going to happen tonight between Oklahoma City and Indiana.
Yeah, me either. I think that especially because of the way the games went, and almost each game, it's funny how similar these two series have been so far through the two games, because you have the game that was an intense buzzer beater and then an overtime, and then you have a game that was a blowout and a blowout. And so I think
you just got an extra double overtime game in hockey in between.
And so I do think that when it comes to both series, I personally think that, and I've said this a few times, I wouldn't be surprised if it still went to a Game 7. I think that the Oilers are that type of team to come that can push it to that level because they have two of the best players to be able to do that. If any two guys can get you to get forced to a game 7, they're on the Oilers. And so I do think that's part of that. The other series, I felt like game 1, I was like, man, everybody was just talking full on about OKC. And then the Pacers, the way that the Pacers ended up and came back from being down, and then also just the way they finished it. And I mentioned this after that game they did every single thing that you needed them to do in those final 2.5 minutes to win the game. When it came to playing the boards, when it came to forcing turnovers, when it came to making the shots, when it came to just kind of being patient with the ball, and they did all of those things. And so I kind of was like, man, maybe this isn't going to go the way people thought. And then the next game came, and you were kind of like, was it back to reality, or do we see a game 3 more like game 1?
Yeah, I think tonight, I feel like SGA, if he has another 30-point plus game, I feel like the Thunder win.
Yeah,
but he did that the first game, and they ended up losing that close game. Yeah, so we shall see. And then the College World Series. One other note begins on Friday at 1:00. We have Coastal Carolina taking on Arizona, and then the second game at 6 p.m. that night, Oregon State versus Louisville, and then on Saturday the first game at 1 p.m. UCLA versus Murray State. I know you've already bought Racers attire because you're a big Murray State fan now, and then the big game Saturday 6 p.m. Arkansas, LSU. I don't love that the two SEC teams are paired together, just because I feel like it would be more interesting to see, say, an Oregon State take on one of those teams, either Arkansas or LSU. But either way, it's going to be exciting for those who love college baseball.
Several fun games in that, and I am. I obviously, in this circumstance, I'm cheering for, there's several underdogs, and I said Murray State just because the story is really cool, but I think that watching Oregon State has been really fun, too. The team is it's one of those ones that you can feel that energy. We talk about the energy from certain players that add on. Oregon State has that, and then Coastal Carolina. I think that anytime you have one of those 3 teams, I'd be happy with. But Murray State, just because when I saw their field and saw it only held 800 people, I was like, man, they're going to have a blast at Omaha.
Speaking of blast, by the way, Eddie King Jr. for Louisville. Watch out for him in their game. All right, let's say hello to Matt Hayes.
Now, the 2-minute drill. Serviced by Cool Cats Heating and Cooling. Locally owned and operated. We're your neighbors. CoolCatsJacks.com.
The coolest cats in town.
Since Matt asked the question, Eddie King is out of Marion Catholic High School. He is a senior at Louisville, and he's a center fielder who makes some good plays defensively, but he finished with a .322 average.
Marion Catholic?
Yeah, where's Marion Catholic, Matt?
Is that Florida?
No, Illinois.
Oh, I don't know.
Linwood, Illinois, apparently.
I was going to say, I know Marion County, there's Trinity Catholic school there, but not.
Yeah, so now everybody knows more about Eddie King Jr. and what he can do on the baseball field.
Chicago Heights area.
Okay, there we go. We had to ask our resident Midwest.
Well, I had to look at. I was like, it sounds familiar, but I don't know exactly. But
yeah. All right,
baseball player out of Chicago, huh?
Oh,
interesting.
Yeah, there were several. That's what we found fascinating. There were several from Louisville that were from the Chicago area.
Which the drive's not bad from there.
We had
probably easy to recruit in that area for them.
Yeah. We had Michael Jr. earlier on, and Taylor asked him top 5 quarterbacks in college football. His number one guy, I don't think he went through all top 5, but his number one guy, Garrett Nussmeier out of LSU. Who's your number one guy?
Possible. I still think, honestly, I think Arch Manning's going to have a huge season. You know, he's been sitting for 2 years, and it's different when you're the starter and you're the guy, and I get all of that. He's just got a lot of talent, a lot of ability. You saw him in various spots last year, specifically the Texas A&M game where he looked really good. Did not look good against Georgia. There's no doubt about that in that home game, but nobody in that Texas team did. I think he's going to have a big season. I think DJ Lagway, if he can stay healthy, will also.
He was also talking about, obviously, the pay to play, and he said he had Marcus Freeman on the show this week and asked him how they are planning to approach this new everything that just passed. And Marcus Freeman pretty much said they've kind of already been going that way. They felt it was happening, so they were already kind of doing the things towards the trajectory of that. Is that what you're hearing? Kind of.
Yeah, everyone.
Like, yeah.
All the major schools have all been. The assumption has been this is where they're headed, which is what. Over the last 2-3 weeks where Judge Claudia Wilkin, who was wavering whether she was going to approve it or not, that was the big deal. Because then they had to go into contingency plans. If she didn't, what are you going to do? Because you've already promised this money to these guys. How are you going to pay this money? So she approved it, and then everything's good. I think what you're looking at right now is the Power 5 programs are going to earmark 75% of that pool, the 20 to 23 million pool for football. They're going to earmark 15% for men's basketball, and that puts you at 90. 5% for women's basketball, which puts you at 95, and the rest 5% for Olympic sports.
So if you don't have football, you're going to start winning the men's national championship in basketball because
if you
don't have to put money into football, so you can start paying.
If you have if you're talking about teams like Villanova, which is a great example, but they got to have money. So you got to be
right.
You gotta have
if
money
they were able to come up with the $20 million and they put it pretty much all to men's basketball,
the most they can pay is 20 to 23 million, depending on the various factors they're using to get to that number. So it's around that. It's probably going to end up closer to 23 than 20.
Right.
At the end of the day.
So maybe we'll never again see an SEC school win the basketball championship when it comes to basketball.
Or maybe the private NIL deals, which are still going on.
Yeah.
We'll just
the handshakes on the side.
Did you see, by the way, the EA Sports report about them paying schools who are featured on the college football game, and anybody who plays them will get money donated to the school, that program?
Really?
Yeah. I saw that yesterday.
There's like a ton of schools on that
yeah,
cover,
like Kent
right?
State is on there.
Right.
So it's like you can go technically, everyone go play Kent State and give them some money.
That's a bad program, by the way. No offense to the Flash fans out there. That's a bad program.
All right, Matt, what's coming up on XLP?
Jags, the Brian Thomas Jr. scare.
Mm-hmm.
But first day for fans to get out there and see the Jags. So very good. We'll talk about that. We'll get into Jags. We'll do a little college football as well. And, of course, the U.S. Open. We're going to do our picks. Our coach, Dave Campo, has sent in his picks.
Beautiful.
So he's very fired up. And
we saw him today.
Yeah, it's good to see him back.
If you follow what he does, when we start doing these picks, this is how
very intense.
This is how he gets his competition back.
Oh, yeah.
Sure. It's analytics.
That's Lauren anytime we have to do picks.
Correct. I spend a lot of time studying.
I was like, we have to pick somebody.
I love him to death. I love him like a brother, but he's a little nutty with it. I got to be honest with you.
He probably has a spreadsheet like I do that's color-coded. All right, thanks, Matt. We'll be listening. I love me some color-coded spreadsheets. All right, that'll do it for us today. For the vacationing Mia O'Brien, for Taylor Dahl, for RJ Saunders, I'm Lauren Brooks. These heels are made for talking. We will talk to you tomorrow. Post the Jaguars mandatory minicamp day 3. Don't go anywhere, though. XL Primetime is next.